Question number 4. By how much will U.S. GDP grow next year? It seems that people always want a sneak preview of the future. What will sales be next year at a firm that is considering investing in new equipment? Will the stock market go up next month? And if it does, by how much? Will city tax receipts next year cover planned expenditures on city services? Will your microeconomics exam next week focus on externalities or monopolies? Will Saturday be a nice day to go to the beach? One aspect of the future in which macroeconomists are particularly interested is the growth of real economic activity, as measured by real gross domestic product, GDP, during the next year. A management consulting firm might advise a manufacturing client to expand its capacity based on an upbeat forecast of economic growth. Economists at the Federal Reserve Board in Washington, D.C., are mandated to set policy to keep real gross domestic product near its potential in order to maximize employment. If they forecast anemic GDP growth over the next year, they might expand liquidity in the economy by reducing interest rates or other measures in an attempt to boost economic activity. Professional economists who rely on numerical forecasts use econometric models to make these forecasts. A forecaster's job is to predict the future by using the past, and econometricians do this by using economic theory and statistical techniques to quantify relationships in historical data. The data we use to forecast the growth rate of GDP include past values of gross domestic product and the so-called term spread in the United States. The term spread is the difference between long-term and short-term interest rates. It measures, among other things, whether investors expect short-term interest rates to rise or fall in the future. The term spread is usually positive, but it tends to fall sharply before the onset of a recession. One of the gross domestic product's growth rate forecasts we develop and evaluate in Chapter 15 is based on the term spread. Quantitative questions, quantitative answers. Each of these 4 questions requires a numerical answer. Economic theory provides clues about that answer. For example, cigarette consumption ought to go down when the price goes up, but the actual value of the number must be learned empirically. That is by analyzing data. Because we use data to answer quantitative questions, or answers always have some uncertainty. A different set of data would produce a different numerical answer. Therefore, the conceptual framework for the analysis needs to provide both a numerical answer to the question and a measure of how precise the answer is. The conceptual framework used in this text is the multiple regression model, the mainstay of econometrics. This model, introduced in part 2, provides a mathematical way to quantify how a change in one variable affects another variable, holding other things constant. For example, what effect does a change in class size have on test scores, holding constant or controlling for student characteristics such as family income, that a school district administrator cannot control?